Hello and welcome in Libupedia. The Amazigh languages, belonging to the Afro-Asiatic linguistic family, are among the oldest written languages still alive today, and different writing systems have been used throughout its history. In this video, we are going to learn about the history of these different systems. So let's get started. The first writing system is Hieratic. It is a cursive writing system used in ancient Egypt between 3200 BC until the 3rd century AD. Now, some will ask what this has to do with writing the Amazigh languages. Well, it has recently been revealed that the oldest document containing a text in an Amazigh language was written around 1000 BC in this script. It is known as the Qeheq papyrus. This papyrus was discovered more than a century ago, and at the time, the Italian Ernesto Schiaparelli thought it was a war anthem of the Libyan tribe of Qeheq. But according to the recent work of the Egyptologist Jason Silvestri, it is a magic spell for protection against snakes. Interestingly, it contains the word for snake, charmati, which is repeated 15 times at the end of its lines. This word has not changed much and still exists in the current Amazigh languages in the form of Azram, confirming that the written text is of Amazigh origin. While Hieratic gives us our earliest evidence of written the Amazigh language, let's now turn to what became the most distinctive Amazigh writing system, Libyco-Berber. This remarkable script spread across an impressive territory, from the west of the Nile to the Canary Islands in the Atlantic Ocean, and from the Mediterranean coasts to the Sahara Desert. With over 1,300 inscriptions, there is a dispute about the oldest one. Many experts consider that Massinissa temple dedication inscription in Tunisia from the 2nd century BC is the oldest one. But Gabriel Camps argues that the Azib Enekis inscription in the High Atlas of Morocco is the first Libyan text from the 5th century BC. In general, the origin of this writing remains obscure and controversial. Let's explore the various theories that attempt to explain its emergence, starting with a captivating tale from Amazigh oral tradition. In the mythology of the Touaregs, the last Amazigh group to write in Tifinagh, there's a legend says that there was a man named Amamelin, or Anigurin, who had a beloved, and he wanted to write her a letter that no one would understand even if they read it, so he composed letters for each sound. And these letters represent the first form of the Tifinagh alphabet. Moving from legend to academic research, we find that the Phoenician origin theory has gained the most widespread acceptance among scholars. This connection isn't surprising when we consider that many inscriptions cluster around Tunisia and eastern Algeria, regions where Punic civilization flourished. Given that the Phoenician alphabet gave rise to numerous writing systems including Latin, Greek, and Arabic, it seems plausible that it also influenced Libyan writing. However, this theory isn't without its challenges. A closer examination reveals some interesting discrepancies. Only 6 letters show similarities between the two systems, a surprisingly small number considering the ancient Libyan alphabet contained 24 or 25 characters. Moreover, the visual styles differ significantly, with Phoenician favoring rounded shapes while Libyan script features sharp, geometric forms. Also, the direction of writing is different from Punic, as most of the existing inscriptions are written from bottom to top and are read from right to left, although there are other inscriptions that do not adhere to this. When we turn our attention eastward, we find another compelling possibility: Egyptian hieroglyphics. The Egyptian hieroglyphics were supported as source for Libyan writing by many researchers, such as the Egyptologist Flinders Petrie, one of the co-discoverers of the Proto-Sinaitic script, considered an ancestor of many modern scripts, argued in his book The Formation of the Alphabet that the Libyco-Berber script and other alphabetical systems descended from an Egyptian writing system. He rejected the theory that the Phoenician alphabet was their primary source. It is important to mention that the Eastern Libyans have a long relationship with ancient Egypt and the important roles they played there. Do you remember the Qeheq papyrus we discussed earlier? It is a big proof of the knowledge of writing by the Eastern Libyans about 2 centuries before the Phoenician presence. It is likely that the Eastern Libyans, especially the Garamantes who were engaged in trade with the rest of the regions of North Africa, transmitted the writing to the rest of the Libyans. Another perspective can be explained as Fevrier says. Or should we suppose that the Numidians would have asked the Carthaginians only for the idea of a consonantal alphabet, but would have borrowed elsewhere or forged the signs themselves? Many argue that, although the Libyan characters of Phoenician origin are few compared to the total number of characters, the Libyans developed most of their other characters while still relying on Phoenician influence. Another intriguing theory suggests a connection to North African rock art. However, this hypothesis faces a significant hurdle. Writing systems typically evolve through several stages rather than jumping directly from images to letters. The absence of an intermediary ideographic writing system in North Africa makes this theory difficult to support. Looking at how this script was used across different regions, experts have identified 3 main variants, each with its own distinct characteristics. Eastern Libyan, and it is widespread in Tunisia and eastern Algeria. It is the most numerous, and experts can identify its values through bilingual inscriptions written in Latin and Punic. A lot of these inscriptions are funeral mentioning some information about the buried person. Western Libyan, and it is found in Morocco, Western Algeria, and the Canary Islands, and it has more letters than the Eastern one. Saharan Libyan, and as its name refers, it is widespread in the Sahara Desert. It is also known as Old Tifinagh, from which modern Tifinagh descended during the Middle Ages. Only the last one can be read by modern Touaregs. Many Libyan Saharan inscriptions generally begin with the word nek, meaning I, or awa nek, meaning it is me. This geographical classification hasn't gone unchallenged, however. The Tunisian scholar Mansour Gaki has pointed out the existence of some inscriptions in Western Libyan script in southern Tunisia, which calls into question the neat regional divisions previously proposed. The Libyan alphabet appears to have remained in use until the 7th century AD, the beginning of the Islamic period, or shortly before. Fulgentius the mythographer, who lived in North Africa between the 4th and 5th centuries AD, refers to the Libyan alphabet when he says, "So that the unique order is shown in the Libyan number, not with twice 12 or twice 11, but by subtracting one element from the Greek and adding one to the Hebrew." It seems that the Libyan Berber alphabet will be abandoned due to the Amazigh's conversion to Christianity and then Islam, and the view of these letters as part of their pagan past. This is one of the likely reasons for stopping of writing with it. The only 2 exceptions were the Guanches of the Canary Islands, isolated from the world until the occupation of the islands in the 14th century AD and the extermination of many of its inhabitants. And in the Sahara, where the Amazighs of the Touareg in particular, and some neighboring cities such as Ghadams, continued to know and write Tifinagh without interruption. Tifinagh is the name given by the Touareg to these letters, and is now used by the general public to refer to the Libyco-Berber inscriptions. Several meanings have been suggested for this name, the most famous of which is that it is linked to the word Phoenician, and that the Amazigh took it from the Phoenicians and named it after themselves. But this opinion forgets that even if this is true, the word Phoenician was not originally known to both Phoenicians and Libyans, but it is a word that the Greeks later named the Phoenicians with. In contrast, the word Tifinagh may be derived from the verb in some Touareg Amazigh variants, ethn, which means to write. Or it could be made up of two words, tifi, meaning discovery, and ne, meaning ours, so it would mean our discovery. The Touareg are proud of their preservation and writing in Tifinagh letters, and they call themselves Kel-Tifinagh, meaning the Tifinagh people. The Touareg learn these letters from childhood, and they draw or engrave them on desert sand, rocks, leather, or pottery. As far as we know, paper documents in Tifinagh are few. Most of the texts are short and often tell stories of love or are signs indicating vital resources in the area that helped the shepherds during moving in the desert. Since 1930s, Amazigh activists have worked and struggled to reintroduce Tifinagh to the rest of North Africa. It is known that the Kabyle Mohand Amachrane Khalifati was the first to propose rewriting the Amazigh languages in the adapted Tifinagh script. Again in the 1970s, Libyco-Berber, a small association in France for the defense of the Amazigh identity, used the Neo-Tifinagh script in its publications. But it was not that simple. For about 3 decades, many people who wrote and published the script were arrested, like Omar Nagati, and at other times its existence was deliberately ignored and replaced by foreign writing systems. But since 2001, Winnercom, Institut Royal de Culture Amazigh, a Moroccan government institution concerned with the Amazigh language and culture, adopted its Tifinagh alphabet as the official writing system. The script has spread and become more known and taught in schools to children. In general, this alphabet has become used for teaching in Morocco, Libya, and several regions of Algeria. These recent developments have been accompanied by important changes. Here we will compare the Tifinagh letters adopted by Urkum and the traditional Tifinagh. One difference is at the level of vowels, which were absent from traditional Tifinagh, and the old Libyco-Berber variants in general. It was an Al-Shari, like Arabic or Hebrew. This issue has already been raised in the Touareg community, and several forms have been proposed. In the Urkum version, Tifinagh is an alphabet like Latin, and it contains 4 vowels. Here is an example to understand the difference. The word Amazigh, written in the traditional Tifinagh and the Neo-Tifinagh. You can see how the vowels make it more recognizable. As for the letters, some letters were deleted and new letters were added in the Urkum version, so it now consists of 33 letters. This step has been criticized by many, as original letters, especially those consisting of dots, were deleted completely and new forms were introduced, some of which are derived from Latin, such as the letter yak. But it is explained that leaving some old letters will make them difficult to read. For example, if the letters yak and ya meet, should it be read as wak or ka? In addition, there is 22 other letter use to express some specific sounds that exists in only some Amazigh languages. Moving away from continental North Africa, we find another interesting development in the Canary Islands where we find on some strange inscriptions resembling Latin. These inscriptions are called Latino-Canarian or Canarian script. Genetically, we know that the original inhabitants of the Canary Archipelago, also known as the Guanches, are related to the continental Amazighs, and that they were likely brought to these islands by the Romans during the 1st century AD as a punishment for their rebellions. As a result, they would have been familiar with the Latin script from North Africa, which they may have either adapted or been inspired by, leading to the development of the script seen in these inscriptions. This is the most logical theory. These inscriptions, which stand alone and sometimes are accompanied by the Libyan text, enable specialists to read most of them easily. Like the Libyan inscriptions, they are short and usually bear the name or lineage of a person, such as this inscription, Avmakurin, which means son of someone called Makrin. We've examined the diverse writing systems used for the Amazigh languages, from ancient Hieratic to the Tifinagh alphabet that persists today and the interesting Canarian script. Alongside these, Latin and Arabic scripts have also been used extensively to write Tamazight, reflecting broader historical and cultural influences. In the next part, we'll take a closer look at how these two scripts were adopted and their significance in Amazigh history. Thank you for watching, and see you later.